Thanks for joining us today. I'm Craig Fowler. I am the Vice President of Quality Assurance and Training here at CNC. We're excited to tell you about some exciting frontline developments within our CNC training department. We're continuing to grow at a phenomenal rate, and we want to make sure everyone who works with us has an opportunity to grow with us. And if you're interested in joining our team, now is the perfect time. As we look toward the tropics and prepare for hurricane season, are you ready? We'd like you to meet David James and Todd Eisenberg, our latest additions to the CNC training department, who have been working hard to enhance our training programs and career development courses. As we rapidly grow, our clients are beginning to require Xactimate X1 Level 2 certified adjusters to handle their assignments. With David handling our property training and Todd our flood training, we're providing as many opportunities as possible now to receive your Level 2 X1 certification and to be storm ready.
We've got Xactimate Level 1, Level 2. We've got Claimed Experience. We have Xactimate mobile app. And we're also just building the future for an Xactimate contents class and Exact analysis class.
We also include on our stability estimating training classes, which can be, again, found at adjustingexpectations.com.
The more proficient you are at writing estimates, the easier the claims process is going to be for you, the client, and the policyholder.
With a combined 60 years of adjusting and training experience, CNC's training department is helping you to build your future.
All of this experience is being developed into CNC Pro, our new e-learning platform, so you can learn on your own.
Coming soon, you're going to have access to our instructor-led classes and virtual classes,
including our flood news at noon.
So forge your career, fine-tune your adjuster skills, add to your toolbox.
Thank you for your time and being a part of the CNC family. We hope to see you soon. Stay updated with everything CNC by following us on Facebook or LinkedIn.
All right, that was a quick little plug of our CNC Pro platform that's coming out. And so that's pretty much it for today. Thanks for taking time to join us today. No, just really, it's just a little plug of what we're doing with our CNC Pro platform, learning platform, and kind of it brings us into this flood news at noon training and the things we've been doing with this. We're going to continue to develop these classes like this, and we're actually going to be adding a lot of training modules and growth tracks and things like that to our CNC Pro. So that's actually almost finished. It will be released very soon, so you can continue to learn and develop and grow. And part of this development and growth is what we do to help our adjusters be the best they can be in the field. And I know Julie has a little intro that she's going to add here shortly, but that's what we brought on today is some of the adjusters that we work with and our management. And today's Flood News at Noon is a kind of an adjuster's perspective and a hurricane preparation to make sure we're all storm ready. We're ready to go. And some of our staff is brought on to answer some of the questions that we have, and also the adjusters to answer some of the questions on the things that they do and the experience they have and how they are able to basically manage a large caseload of claims, what they do to be efficient, what they do to make sure their estimates are right. And basically at the end of the day, make sure those customer, that policyholder is 100% satisfied with the outcome of that loss, regardless, or outcome of that claim, regardless if it's a CWAP or if it's total loss, whatever it happens to be, but they're completely satisfied. So Julie, I probably took a little bit of information from you. I'll go ahead and open this back to you. And at the end, I'll play my last video. So.
Okay, well, as Craig said, today we have some of our adjusters with us and our flood claims manager to do the flood news at noon. So let me introduce our adjusters first. We have Trista Keener and Jen Lanson is trying to get back on. And we have Adam Lawrence and Raymond Kelly. And our flood manager, Glenn Mathers. So we're going to be going through some questions that they're going to answer for you. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask any of them, please feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A box, remembering that there's no private questions anymore to me. So We all see them.
We also have Wendy joining us. She's down there at the bottom of the screen. Anyway, just throw her out there. Wendy Stroh's joining us. There she is. She actually moved up now. Okay.
Adam looks like he's about to bust out into some kind of weather forecast or something.
I know. I'm waiting for the cake to start flying.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get started.
Remuting.
All right, Trista, the first question we have is, in regard to policyholders, what is the most important aspect of this job?
Well, so I think, well, customer service, but customer service is such a big part of it. But to narrow it down, the first part, I think, and this is the biggest part that I think is the most important, is having and showing empathy to the insureds. But by learning how to empathize with the policyholders, I think that's where you start building your trust with them first. And going back to the bigger parts of customer service, the important word of customer service is the word service. You're servicing the policyholder at the beginning of the claim, during the whole claims process, while you're inspecting, while you're writing the claims, and following through with them at the end. Once you've sent them all the estimate and everything else to be signed, call them, go over it with them. Most of them that I deal with, if they've had a claim before, they tell me the first thing right off the back is they don't know what was paid for. Even though they got the estimate, they don't know how to read it. Nobody's going through it with them or anything like that. So I was a business major, so customer service was, embedded into me with all of that. So what I learned in school, and what I try to make sure I follow along with the customer service, is there's 3 important qualities. And I think this, is a big part of adjusting and in our claims world. The first one is professionalism. Let me say that right here. Getting ahead of myself. Which is the attitude you take towards your policyholder and your job altogether. If, for example, when customers are upset or being irrational, it's up to you to diffuse that situation. Basically, be their positive light. So, and the next one would be patience. Remember, every policyholder is different, so you handle them different. You don't just lump them all in one category. So when you treat them differently and each to their own situation, then they'll react different with you, and they won't get upset, call the carrier, make complaints and all that. So, and the third one would be what we call people first attitude. So make the connection with the policyholder, and you do that up front on your first phone call. Don't just go in there and just ask them a couple questions, be short. You want to develop that rapport with them right off the back. If you don't, then it's going downhill from there, most likely. I just had a situation with one of my policyholders in Louisiana, was an attorney, an insurance attorney. So right off the back, he was a major ordeal to deal with. He was real standoffish and just being just not so very nice. Let's put it that way. So, but by the time I got out to him, we inspected, and still dealing with him today, his whole attitude has changed. He told me thank you. He apologized for being so standoffish and acting the way he did. He said he just had to make sure that he knew I was firm and that I wasn't going to be able to walk all over him. And, that's not what we do. So if you don't develop that rapport up front, it's just not going to work all the way around. That's pretty much all I have, being that I just had to answer that question today.
Okay. All right, Jen, can you hear me? All right, I'm going to call Jen and put her on speakerphone, since we're in adjusting. We just adjust to the situation. All right. Hey, Jen, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Can you guys hear her?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Jen, how does an adjuster manage a large number of policyholders during a CAT and keep them from reaching out to the carrier or to CNC?
In my experience, to manage a large number of policyholders during a CAT event, it usually starts with a quality first contact. During my first contact, I set the expectations for the claim process. At that time, I confirm the insured's best contact info, such as email address, cell phone number, and address. I let them know that I am their main point of contact during the claims process. Should they have any questions or concerns, to please reach out to me directly. I make sure to provide them with my email address and cell phone number. I also let them know that if they do contact me and I do not answer, it's typically because I'm in the field on another inspection. I ask that they please leave me a detailed voicemail or text message, and I'll return it as soon as possible and within 24 hours. I make sure to provide the insured with the information they need up front, such as a copy of the dwelling policy and the flood claims handbook via email, which is a guide that'll explain what they can expect and the next step of the claims process. I always make sure to just stay on top of all my contacts and emails as to help prevent the insured from having to reach out to CNC or the carrier. It's my due diligence to do so. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but that was my main goal at the end of the day, is to make sure they call me.
Good deal. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Okay, I believe Craig is going to take the next question.
Am I? Okay, Adam. It's actually a question I'm going to ask you. What is 2 + 2?
Whatever you tell me it is, sir.
Perfect. That is a perfect answer. And that's the type of customer service we expect when you are having that communication with the policyholder. You listen to them and you communicate with them. And if they're incorrect, you still tell them how correct they are, right?
Right. It's like Rick and Morty. They're different universes, and in your universe, 2 + 2 is whatever you want it to be. Cool with that.
All right. So, question for you, Adam. What goes into scheduling your inspections, and how efficient do your time management skills need to be when you're involved, not just in a day-to-day claim situation, but actually in a catastrophe? Give us a little insight into that, please.
Okay. Well, scheduling is really important. Because it does fall into an ineffective efficiency a lot. So, the first thing I do is the initial claim review. I'm going to look into claim source. I'm going to look at the loss notice. I want to see where the location is. I want to see if they have any prior losses. I want to review the claim notes to see if they have a description, like I have a 1-inch water line in a basement, or I have, 3 feet of water in that basement. It helps you determine how much time you're going to have to spend on site. Is the property accessible? If they're underwater and it doesn't look like they're going to be available for a week or so, there's no point in scheduling it the next day. You just go ahead and say, well, let me know when it's accessible. There may be some special instructions in there. Sometimes the policyholders have special needs. They're blind, they have a representative or something like that. And you may have special requirements. You may need a non-waiver. It may be a rental property where you need to get the leases, the ownership documents, and all of that stuff. And so that'll help you prepare for that first call. The next thing I do is the mapping. So I go into Google Maps and I drop the little icon on there and I give it a name. So I know, looking at my maps, where everybody is in relation to everyone else. And it helps when you schedule your appointments, because if you have 7 claims in one city and then an hour away you have 2 claims, you don't want to be bouncing back and forth. You want to take care of those 7 first and then go get the 2, or vice versa. You don't want to be driving back and forth. That's just a waste of time. I guess an important question is, how many claims can you do comfortably in one day? My Goldilocks zone is 3 or 4. 3 usually, and I like to have a little extra time in reserve because I do spend a lot of time speaking with the policyholders. I do, try to get that prelim app done, the preliminary report completed shortly after I leave the inspection. Usually what I do is I leave guy's house, drive to a gas station, call the other insured or text them and say, I'll be there in 30 minutes, fill out the preliminary report, and then go to that inspection. So it all kind of works together. I'm able to check all those boxes as I go through my day, as opposed to having them mount up at the end of the night where you're trying to do 4 or 5 or 6. And then you have 4, 5, or 6 prelims to do that night. You're not getting to bed till 2. Well, you have to be an hour down the road at 7 in the morning. It'll burn you up. So I do 3 or 4 a day, and that's my Goldilocks. That's my good zone. Every adjuster will have a different number. And looking at the loss notice and claim source, you'll be able to determine how long do you need to spend at that inspection. Some inspections may be 2 hours, pretty easy. Some may be 4 or 5. You know, you have the 1-inch water line throughout the house. That's going to take you a while because you have to look around and verify all the damages to the flooring, the cabinetry, the drywall, and things like that. And most of us can do a 1-foot water line pretty quickly, maybe a couple of hours, you know, depending on how much you want to talk to the policyholder. They may be large losses. They may have contents. All of these things go into your scheduling because you need to allocate appropriate time, because you don't want to tell the policyholder, I'll be there between 2 and 4, and then you're not making it until 6 or 8. And that's too late to do an inspection anyway. You do need some daylight. You know, you may come across some shorter inspections where you get there and it's just a partial inundation. Maybe it's a detached garage, and you're able to get in and out pretty quick. Well, you have some time to work with. You can take that policyholder that was complaining about having to wait 4 or 5 days for an inspection. You can move them up and get them taken care of. And so if you're able to review the claim notes and the loss notice, map appropriately, you should be able to get everything done in a pretty quick way. And then you want to do your initial call. It's not done yet. You have to schedule it. So, you know, the policyholder, again, may have special circumstances. They have to work. Life goes on. Even if you flood, you have to pay your mortgage. You have the doctor's appointments. You have to go to work. You have different things that you have to do. And you, as an adjuster, it's not, I can make it there 2 to 4 on this day. Otherwise, I'll see you in 2 weeks. You know, you want to be able to work with them. You know, it's not just about our scheduling. It's I think, mostly about their scheduling. When will they be available? They may have lots of questions. They may have a prior loss. They may have, believe it or not, negative prior insurance experiences. I can't imagine, but people do. And, you know, so they come into this process with a negative aspect, maybe like the attorney to a certain extent that Ms. Keener spoke of. You'll have to combat that on the initial call and at the inspection to win them over. I mean, and it's not a con game, you know, but you do want them to understand where you're coming from, be on your side, and understand that the adjuster is there to help them. Again, they have availability issues, and you want to maintain some flexibility. You may have a last minute cancellation. There may be a delay in the policyholder getting there. You may not be able to make it at your 2 to 4 window. It may be 4 to 5. Well, you want to let them know, hey, if I'm running late, I'll let you know as soon as that looks like that's going to happen. And when I schedule my appointments, I do give them a window. I'll say I'll be there at some time between 7 and 9 in the morning, and I'll text you when I'm 30 minutes out. And that way they know that I will be there at that point and that they'll have that 30 minutes. The last thing that you want to do is say, I'll be there Tuesday morning. It's like, you know, Comcast customer service. I'll have somebody there between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and these guys are just sitting there waiting for you. Well, what means that they're going to be there when you get there? They may have other things to do. It's just, you do want to be conscious of their needs, because that's what the policy is all about. We want to serve them. You want to maybe plan for extra time at the inspections as well, which is why I keep it to 3 or 4, because they may have a lot of questions. It may be a 1-inch water line. It may be a large loss. They may have contents. You will want to spend extra time there. Hopefully you've identified that in the initial claim review and the pre-call and the initial call. But sometimes things pop up. Maybe you have the elderly neighbor next door who comes over and the policyholder is like, please talk to this person, help them out. I really care for them. And you want to extend that courtesy when you're able to. You don't want to appear rushed. You want to, you know, act like you have the time, and you should if you schedule appropriately. And you want to set the policyholder's expectations throughout this process on the initial call, the time you're going to be there, what you're going to be doing, how long they're going to need it, the documents that they need, and things like that. And even at the inspection, you know, well, your drywall's still in place. You may have a sheathing issue. When your contractor comes in and tears that out, take some pictures and call me. Let's talk about that. There may be hidden damages or something like that. You want to just be upfront, answer all the questions, and just maintain that open door. And as far as the second part of your question, Mr. Fowler, about the efficiency, you know, that's really important, because it's critical to not only the adjuster's success, but everybody involved in this process. You know, if the carrier doesn't assign a claim to you for a month, you're going to have a hard time with that inspection, because all that damage has gone stale. You know, it's gotten worse. They've torn something out. It's going to make your job harder. the same other side of the coin, you know, if the adjuster takes too long to get out there, or they're inefficient, they don't turn in their prelims on time, and no one knows what's going on. The policyholder can't begin repairs, advances don't get issued. You have wasted man hours with the IA firm asking for statuses, and you have to put those statuses in there. It just rolls downhill. Everybody picks up a piece of that inefficiency there. So you do want to try to use your time wisely. And, you know, everybody has provided tools to make you more efficient. So, you know, the CNC has the iPad app. You know, if you don't use the iPad app for your preliminary photos or your preliminary report, all that, you need to start, because that saves you a lot of time. You can pretty much turn that preliminary report in at the site, right, in most circumstances, and not delay issuing advances, letting the carrier know that the risk has been inspected. The NFIP knows that you've been and looked at it. You know, and you set the policyholders' expectations. They have obligations. So do these adjusters. So do the examiners. You know, they have families, they have friends, they have hobbies. We don't want to waste their time having to status a stale claim every week. I mean, it gets ridiculous. You have a claim load that you need to manage. And if you're inefficient, that claim load just gets worse and worse and worse. They sit there and you have to add notes for all of these different files. You have people calling you, what's going on with this. If you can be more effective and more efficient, then those problems get less. And, you know, you're not as stressed out. You know, you are able to, you know, maybe be like me and enjoy the job to a certain extent and not have it be a chore every day. And again, the companies have provided tools to make us more efficient. The iPad app, Xactimate has the mobile app, which I totally recommend everybody use. You're able to get that scope at the very least tied down and correct at the site. You don't have to spend the hour or two decoding your handwritten scope notes that are all messed up, or you've lost them or something like that. You know, you're able to have at least that done, so that maybe if you did have a cancellation, you get home early, you've gone out to dinner or done whatever it is you need to do, you might actually be able to sit down and upload photos and label them. Hey man, that's 2 hours you've taken off that claim later down the line. So in 4 or 5 days, when it happens again, hey, well, maybe I can return to that claim and actually get that one out quickly. So efficiency is important. It just makes everybody's job a whole lot easier. And it's something that you need to continually analyze. You know, as adjusters, we may think that we've gotten our method figured out and it's the best way. It's not. There are definitely, you know, corrections that we can make, different things that we can do better, at least in my opinion. And I always look for that. So if anyone has any suggestions as to efficiency, I'd be very welcome to hear them. And thank you, Mr. Fowler. That was a pleasure.
Mr. Lawrence, thank you very much. That was an excellent answer to that really challenging question, but you are 100% correct. Just like your last statement, there's always an opportunity to learn. That's one of the reasons why we do the flood news at noon. That's why reason we're doing this, because it's always good to get a different perspective from some of your peers, from the management, from what we see on the examination side, from the management side, and what we need adjusters to do, and also from what adjusters are doing out in the field. How are you handling the situation? What's, especially in a difficult situation? And like you pointed out, being upfront is extremely important, whether it's a positive situation or a negative situation. If you're not having that communication with the policyholder to begin with, and you're communicating, you know, there's a basement and there's limitations down there, and you're not communicating with them, their expectation, they've probably been told by someone that they have full coverage when they don't. And that's just something that you have to be upfront with them. You have to communicate with that to them immediately. And, you know, and some of the apps, like you said, the prelim app, we're in the process of always developing, always using technology to help adjusters be more efficient. We have our adjustment app coming out pretty soon that will change the way we do prelims, change the way we get the data in, where we're getting advances even faster, underwriting reports, expert requests, little things that we're kind of doing now with our current app I think that's been in development, or that's been around for about 10 years now, something like that. It feels like with this new one, it's going. Yeah, how can we help an adjuster be more efficient, and at the end of the day, be more efficient for the policy holder? because that's what you're really helping them get back on their feet. Because you're right, they're sitting around waiting for you. They have a job, they have a life, they're still going out there and doing stuff. But at the same time, that is a disaster they experience if it's in a half inch or it's 15 feet of water. Whatever it is still a disaster that they need an adjuster to give them that empathy, to help them through the situation, help them get out there. I do want to ask you one more question, Mr. Lawrence. You made a statement about Google Maps and how you kind of use your Google Maps. Do you also use it for traffic to see what traffic is out there to help with your scheduling? You know, you get a situation like Houston, for example. Do you use that tool for that as well?
Totally, because Google Maps will tell you there's a cop coming up, there's a speed trap up ahead. You know, I do it in town, because the speed limit is 70. Most police officers will give you up to 75, but if you want to push it to 76 or 77, you might want to know that, hey, there's a speed trap up ahead. But yeah, it will, and it'll tell you alternative routes. It'll tell you if a route is closed because of flooding. I know there are other apps that do that, but Google Maps does it all. I've tried other ones, and that's the one I've settled on. And the other nice thing about Google Maps is if you save those locations, they're stored in your Google Maps. So you can actually just open up your maps and it has all these little blue icons everywhere. Oh, I've worked a claim all the way over here. And I've actually had a situation with CNC management where I received a call and they asked, did you run any claims in this New Bern area up at the top of the Neuse River? And I didn't know offhand. I mean, I can't remember these people's names unless I see them. So I brought up my maps while I'm driving 76 miles an hour down the highway, and I was able to find 3 or 4 claims in that area so that this particular manager could look at those claims and see what the water was at that area, because apparently that was some sort of issue. How high was the water? What kind of water was it, or something like that? I can't quite remember, but they needed some information about other claims in that area. And that was just a sort of like an outlier, but yeah, Google Maps is very efficient, and it helps you. It lets you know if there's anything going on that's going to delay you.
I see you muted yourself, so I'll assume that's you're done. So, yeah, thanks, Adam, Mr. Lawrence. Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Lawrence, for the clarification on some of that stuff. And yeah, it's very good to hear the perspective you guys have out there and some of the tools that you're using. So that kind of leads me to a question for Ray. Ray, I have a question for you. What type of equipment do you use in the field to, with your scheduling, with your scope, with writing your estimates, and some, there's been a lot of advancements in technology and tools that we use, such as our CNC mapping feature, some of the stuff, Xactimate Mobile, Xactimate Contents, and any other apps or any other things that you have out there that you currently use to help you be more efficient in the field. Kind of give us a little insight on that, if you would, please.
Well, just like what Adam was just saying, as far as Google Maps and everything else, I mean, that one's a big one. As far as the CNC app, with being able to look and see where all your claims are without having to put pins in. I mean, that saves a lot of time right there. Instead of having to type everything in, every claim, you save 2 or 3 minutes typing everything in on every claim. I mean, by the time you're done with that on a CAT situation, you saved an hour and a half just that day. So, I mean, and that's an inspection. I mean, that's, actually writing up, one of your narratives and one of your reports, and I mean, that's definitely something that, speeds you up. Xactimate Mobile is huge. If you guys don't use it, you guys definitely need to look at going into it. I mean, you're writing, you're out on inspection, you're writing out your scope and everything else. Then you're coming back and putting it into the computer. All that time that you put it into the computer, you're sitting at your desk, you could be doing that while you're out there in the field, and then you have a better idea of what you're expecting as far as, your advances and everything else. And everything that is there, you can actually write out, half the claim, 3/4 of the claim right there on the site, to where you can tell them, okay, this is what, a ballpark of what we're looking at. And it doesn't take any more time than what you would be doing than if you were writing on paper. When you get back, it's a lot less time that you have to do. I mean, you have to work with your photos and everything else, but the estimate, it's done for the most part. Scheduling, look at using Google Calendars, look at using, a paper scheduling book. I use both of them just, because with Google Calendars, if you get out into a situation, on a catch situation, the cell phones might not work, so it's in a situation where, okay, where am I going next? So I pull my book out and look, and I know, when I first start out, I usually schedule 3 or 4 claims for the day, just to get an idea of what's going on, what kind of damage there is. And then you can make, adjustments from there. You can add front to them, you can take away from it, but, it's a lot easier to add to it than it is to take away from it. So you don't want to overdo yourself for a few days, and with that, it's a lot easier to under promise and overachieve than it is to under promise and underachieve, and that's, huge with, the customers. You call a customer up and tell them you're going to be there at 4 o'clock, 4:05, they're calling you going, why aren't you here yet? You never want to tell them a specific time, because you're not going to make it, especially after the first time of the day. The only one that I will actually give a specific time to is the first one in the morning. Everything else is in a window, and, just like with that, what Adam was saying, your first couple could take 2-3 hours, but one might take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, to look at, because it's, a close without pay. They didn't have anything. You can call somebody, that's on your list, say, hey, can I move you up? But if you turn around and say, hey, I have to reschedule you because I'm overbooked, they have a problem with that. So, there's a lot of things that you can do to, just kind of look and, make yourself faster. Having an assistant, when you're on a cat, that in itself will save you a lot of time. You're trying to make calls and everything else. The first initial phone calls, you want to do yourself. You want to make that contact, explain to people where and what to expect. But they're going to have a lot of questions that, are just general questions. Can I remove this? Can I do that? Pretty much anybody that you hire, as long as they have an IQ over, their age, should be able to answer these, questions from, and be able to move forward with it. But that's stuff that is going to take time out of your day to stop and answer, because now you're sitting on an inspection, you're answering the phone, then you turn around going back to trying to figure out exactly where you are in that inspection, going, okay, where am I at? What am I doing? Then you miss stuff, and it's just a lot easier to do it that way. And so, and I don't, Adam answered quite a few of the same general answers, so I don't want to sit there and harp on, things, but the scheduling is the biggest thing.
But you're right. But like both of y'all pointed out, the technology that's out there that a lot of adjusters are not taking advantage of, and things that are also coming out that we see down the pipeline that we are trying to implement in some form or fashion into some of the programs that we are developing to make adjuster efficient. But the tools that are there now, like the Xactimate Mobile, just like you pointed out, you can write an estimate there. You can do your macros. You can do a collaboration with somebody that's back at your office or wherever you happen to be that can actually assist with that. There's so many tools that help us be more efficient. One of them we haven't even touched base on, claims experience. The claim experience is being able to utilize that. Some of the things we're doing on our end is being able to utilize on the first call, the first contact, where we can offer advances. We can see what's going on with the damages. We can assist the insured. You're doing that claim experience and they're out there for the first time looking at that damage with you on the other end of that call, seeing it for the first time. Then you can sit there and you can kind of base reserves, you can base advances, you can give them direction. There's a lot of benefits of technology that we touch base with day to day, and the claim experience is just one of those that helps us be better and more efficient adjusters for that customer. Anyway, so yeah, those are just some of the things, you look at and you go, okay, Here's where technology can help us be better. Because I know when I started doing this, I mean, it was Polaroids, it was glue sticks, it was tricarbon paper, it was dot matrix printers. I remember the first cell phone we had. We were amazed at it. It was like a box, like this big, that you carried with a cord attached to it. And yeah, I wish I had that thing now. I bet that is retro right there.
Are you sure that cell phone wasn't a stone tablet that you were working on? I mean, back in the day?
Yeah, it was charcoal and stone. Yes. That's when I used to have a beard and I had my club. I go around and beat hail damage. All right.
So before we run out of time, we do have a few questions that I want to ask before we get to our next set of questions. So whoever answers this, Adam, let's go quickly. What could the carrier do better or different to help or assist the adjuster? And that's for anyone. Can y'all think of anything that they could do to help with that, to help assist you guys?
Julie, I have a comment on that.
Yes.
Or do you want an adjuster's answer?
Go for it.
Go for it.
I had a thought as well. Go for it.
Well, it's kind of to the point. There is a question posted in the chat about how you decide to see who do you see first when you get 25 claims. And I think knowing the water line or the a guess at the water line, policyholders don't know how to measure. But if they would ask, did you have water in your house that was ankle deep, knee deep, waist deep, over your head, and give us some indication of the water depth on the loss notice? You don't have to give a lot of details, but that helps triage because the worst claims need to be seen sooner, I think. So if we had some kind of water height on the loss notice, that would be great.
I think also throw something out there, which an adjuster actually just post as well, as something with priors. When there's a prior, the loss notice indicates there's a prior. If a prior could actually, most of the information, if it's available, would come with the claim immediately. And so you're getting the assignment, you're having the prior there, unless it's obviously assigned already in-house or something like that, but having that access to that would be, I think, very beneficial as well, especially when you're dealing with a prior and being able to and have that communication up front. We have a prior here. We see the damages. We see with this, have you been able to do the repairs and being open, like Adam pointed out, just you have that information there so you can be honest and open with the policyholder immediately from that initial claim and have that conversation with them. Now, I think Adam has a comment. I can see he's eager. Go ahead, Adam. Oh, Mr. Lawrence does not? Okay. All right.
Okay.
I was going to kind of say the same thing along the lines of exactly what Wendy said, giving us some sort of, idea of what we're looking at. But at the same time, they're getting the same information that we are when we talk to the insureds. I was just in a situation where, the person was looking at, oh, we're not even sure we want to file this claim. By the time I was done writing it, I was at $150,000. So they don't even know, they're getting the same information we are, so, they're kind of at the insured's mercy as well.
We had $149,000 overpayment. Okay.
According to the insured, yes. They weren't even sure they wanted to file a claim.
And something to throw in there as well is that, that's where claim experience also we're utilizing for that initial call. Yeah, we can't get that information from the carrier, and maybe they're doing the same type of process, but we can also pull that information in and get a good understanding what the damages are. Because you're right, I have 2 inches of water, and you get out there and it's 5 feet of water, and you're going, okay. We had a policyholder in kind of a different situation, but on a wind claim, said, "Don't worry about me. I'm good. I can deal with a little bit of my minimal damages to my house. Deal with other people." And so the adjuster did. And when the adjuster actually got out there, her roof was completely gone. There was no roof at all. It was like, you weighed it. I mean, so she was just being, concerned about her neighbors, but at the same time, that was somebody that should have been dealt with first. So, anyway.
I got to add something that Ray just said about that. Like, a lot of times the insureds or the policyholders don't know what their damage actually is, and never take it for granted. If they say, well, I found some water in my garage and the playroom, but there's none in any of the other parts of the house. Take photographs and go inspect it anyway, because I'm telling you, they don't know what to look for, not the way that we're trained to look for it. And it's always good to have those photographs, whether there is damage or there's not. But it's a perfect way to document your file completely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to move along. And this question is for Trista and Glenn. And we'll let Trista go first. And then Glenn, if you'll take over from there. And all right, remember, guys, we only have about 10 more minutes. So when you guys as adjusters get files back from an examiner and you feel you're correct and the examiner is wrong, do you take offense to this? Does it bother you? How do you handle this situation from the adjuster's point of view? And then Glenn, if you will, let us know how you deal with it from the manager's point of view and how you tell the examiners to deal with this situation so that there's not a lot of discord.
Trista, you have 5 seconds to answer. Glenn, you have 5 minutes. So go ahead.
Wow. Okay. So you don't do nothing. No, I'm just kidding. So I try to myself approach it several different ways. First, I just read and go through and see what they've sent back and make sure, I'm understanding what they're asking for. But more than not, I just make the corrections and send it in. Usually it's probably something minor that I might have overlooked when I QC'd my own file before I send it to my support guy, which is Wade. So I don't get mad or take offense. If I don't agree with the examiner, I just will usually go add a little more explanation to the line items, the narrative pictures, wherever I can add some extra info that maybe he just didn't understand what I was talking about up front. And usually that suffices. But if it doesn't, I try to either send him an email or give him a call, and we hash it out over the phone and try to make it to where someone else reading the file can understand what I'm trying to explain or something. But the explanations usually clear up everything. Sometimes when a different examiner looks at the file, they're not used to looking at the way Wade or looks at it, because we're used to each other. So they look at it totally different. And so, but usually they send it back for a lot more items than you're used to, just because they don't understand how you write it. I know everybody's trained the same, but everybody views it differently. Nobody will look at a file and have the same exact question. So don't panic. Just try to do the same thing. Try to explain it to them or go in and add more information to it. And if it doesn't work, if that you can't resolve it with you and your examiner, then you can also get management involved, which is rare, but there are some instances that needs to be. I think the biggest thing with adjusters and examiners is being able to develop a rapport with each other in order to make the whole process run smooth. And that takes time. It's not something that just happens on one CAT or one round of claims. It's the examiners and adjusters they spend a lot of time back and forth, so they need to get to know each other. So I think keeping the same examiner and adjusters together for a long time, and not changing them, I think helps develop and know each other's tendencies and know what they're looking for. And they understand how that adjuster's writing their report, so they know exactly the spots to go for that they might make the little mistakes they might make. So it speeds up the process and the whole time as well. I've been fortunate. I've had great examiners. So, and then any questions I have, they answer them or they get answers for me. and we've got a great working relationship. So I don't have any complaints on my end.
So I always wanted to give the adjusters like a challenge flag, like in football, to where if they think that we're wrong, they can throw the challenge flag. But if you're overruled, you lose all your challenges. You can never challenge us again. If you're right, we'll give you another challenge flag. That never really caught on though. But really, the main thing is to remember that we're on the same team. I welcome from the adjusters a healthy debate on policy language. I don't mind that at all. The one thing that we don't like, and I know the adjusters don't like, so on the examiner side, we don't like to hear, well, I think it's covered because I put it in my other file and it got through. That's not a healthy way to present your side of the argument, or debate, I should say. But the other side is it. I don't think our examiner should say, well, you need to take that out because Glenn said it's not covered. That's not healthy either. Again, we need to debate policy language so that we both understand where we're coming from. Then if you still cannot, agree, that's when you're going to bring it to me, supervisor or manager. I'm going to look at it and see if I can, go between y'all and say, okay, this is the way we're going to present it. Because ultimately, if it does come back, I'm going to say, well, I looked at it. I thought this was the correct way to go. Now, if it's something that I think that I'm not even sure about, we have great relationships with the examiners at the carriers. I can easily pick up the phone, give them a call, tell them the situation, the two different ways we're looking at things, and we will come up with a solution together. And I mean, that's the way that the carriers, and we need to do it. The answer is never to let's put it in the claim and see if it gets through. Because that's not a healthy way, and it doesn't get the file to where it should be. Now, when we get together with the carrier, we make a decision, everybody's on the same page. And then when we present it to the policyholder, there's no issues. We're all like, if there's something that we can't cover, at least we've all discussed it and we all know it can't be covered, and there's not going to be any surprises. And again, I always, when you're talking to the policyholder, remember that you're talking to them about the policy language. You're not saying, I can't cover this because Glenn told me it's not, take it up with him.
Okay. And adding to that, how is following the guidance given a vital piece to conducting a claim?
I mean, again, we're not enemies. We've got to work together, for the one goal. The goal is to complete the claim with the most accurate estimation of covered damage under the policy. You got to remember, our flood staff, not in cat time, but just a regular year, we work 260 days up here, 8 hours a day. And again, that's not with cat. Cat, that's even more. But we've dedicated our lives to working with the examiners. We look at thousands of claims. We have seen a lot, and that's what we're doing. We're taking our knowledge and experience and helping to guide the adjuster to present the most perfect claim that we can. Let's see.
Yeah, because you're right, Glenn. I'll make a statement on that. We look at tens of thousands of claims. Some adjusters may look at 100 to 200 a year. We're taking that tens of thousands of claims, and our experience and communication back and forth with FEMA GAs or NFIP GAs, with the examiners at the companies, with their claims management, sometimes their underwriting departments, their legal departments. We're taking all this information and just packaging it up and then giving it back to the adjuster. So sometimes there is some disagreement, and that's what, like Glenn pointed out, we are going to have that conversation back and forth. And if we don't have the clear, correct answer, we will escalate it in a sense to upper management and have this discussion with them. But it is a full team, from the adjuster all the way to the claims manager at the WIO, at the servicing agent. It's a full team effort to get that product right for that policyholder. Make sure that they have a clean, accurate estimate when we submit it. And that examiner that's going to pay that claim can pay it without any question and present that information to FEMA without any question. So that's what we're about. We're about a big team. So we're not fighting. And, like Adam said, I said 2 + 2 is 5, and he agrees with me. So that's what it is about. We're a team. Sorry, Glenn.
Okay,
That's
we
good.
have like 5 more minutes, and I have 3 more questions for Glenn. So,
Hurry up, Glenn.
Rapid fire.
yes. What is the #1 action item an adjuster should be doing now to prepare for storm season?
Sorry, but I have to split that in two. You've got the personal side of that, and you got the business side of it. Okay, on the business side of it, it's the tools of the trade. Make sure you've got your cameras, batteries, a good iPad. Make sure that it's working. Take 15 tape measures with you. Everything you're going to need for inspection, you got to have that ready now. Got to be done now. Additional tools of the trade is your knowledge. Get involved with your IA firm, whoever it may be. Every chance you get. Look, you see these classes right there? Those are all classes that I don't care how long you've been doing adjusting. Come to those classes. Get involved with us. There's new forms out. Have you looked at the new forms? There's new final reports. There's new. Oh, they took away the final report, didn't they? I'm talking crazy now. But the proof of loss. Look at all those forms. They're available. You need to get familiar with them. Make sure your Xactimate's working. Review your old files. Take a little time. Audit your own files. Look and see, how can I improve? And then on the personal side, get your own house in order. You remember, when you're going on a CAT, when you're being deployed, you're saying, I'm putting my life on hold. I'm putting everything to the side, and I'm going out there to help these policyholders get back on their feet. Everything else has to be pushed to the side. If you're in the middle of painting your house, well, guess what? Christmas time, you're going to have a tricolored house because you're not going to have time to finish it unless you do it now. Service your car, change the tires, go to the dentist now, get your refills now. These are all things that you're not going to be able to do when you're out in the field. Don't get married, don't get divorced in August, September, or October. And if you're planning a vacation on these months, buy the insurance because you're probably going to need it. Other things that somebody brought up to me: have your finances in order, clear out or bump up the credit card limits if you can. Have your bills taken care of, auto pay. You just got to remember the insured's gone through a traumatic experience. It's probably lost everything they've got. You cannot call them and say, I'm not going to make it today because I've got a dentist appointment. I got to get my tooth filled. They don't care.
Okay. All right. And can anyone be an adjuster? And if not, what qualities do you think are important for an adjuster to have in order to be successful?
Can anyone be an adjuster? Yes, absolutely. Should everybody be an adjuster? Should everybody pursue a career in adjusting? No. I will tell you the things that I think you need to have. It's patience, the ability to multitask, willing to get your hands dirty. You're not going to fall off of a roof, but you're probably going to be in waist high mud at some point and staring at a snake, or like Trista, have somebody with a shotgun behind her shooting at the snakes while she's measuring the house. Those kind of things are going to happen, and you got to work fast with quality. You've got to be thick-skinned. You're gonna get some criticism. We want it to be constructive, but it is possible that you're going to get some criticism. Be humble, but exude confidence, and don't be arrogant. But most important, which is the first thing that Trista said when we started, was empathy. You've got to be empathetic.
All right. Last question, and we need to wrap things up. What should an adjuster do in the event of a hostile policyholder?
Okay, so there's all kinds of different reasons that somebody could be hostile, but the one thing that I want you to dig down further is what is their circumstance? What is the reason that they're angry or upset? Quick story, and then I'm done. I once had a lady I was working the file for. It was a cap. But, she goes, you don't understand what I'm going through. You're just over there on the other side of the phone, and you don't. And I said, well, let me try. I said, okay. I said, you didn't ask for that flood. That flood came out of nowhere. You weren't prepared for it. You're used to riding on the water in a boat, and right now you can ride on the water on your sofa in your house. You've had to take everything out of your house. You've had to rip up your entire life. You're in shock. Right at the beginning, the media comes out. Everybody's there. It's all, hey, let's help this policyholder. Let's get them through it, you know. And then 3 months later, everybody's wondering what Justin Timberlake's doing, and they've forgotten about your area. Well, I haven't forgotten about your area. I am here for you. We are going to be together until this is done. And I will call you, and you can call me anytime, but we're in this together. She was happy with me from that time on.
All right. So I'm going to hand it over to Craig to finish up. And thank you guys very much for joining us. You all know how much I love you guys. The adjusters are my heart. So Glenn, if you will, can you mute? Because I think, yeah, they're going to make noise. All right, guys. See you next time.
I think they're they're more concerned with Britney Spears right now than Justin Timberlake. So we just wanted to make sure that's where they're at. Yeah, team, everybody on this call, greatly appreciate the time y'all took to join in. It's always valuable to hear from people that have been experienced, adjusters, examiners, claims managers. We, like I pointed out before, and I always point out when our flood news at noon, we usually hear from somebody on the other side, an engineer, an examiner at the company, underwriting team. We're always hearing that. So it's good to transition back, especially with storms, hurricane season right around the corner. The insight, the information that the adjusters and Glenn has given to everybody on how and what to do, because they're, like Glenn pointed out, it's the little things that you don't think about. You've made the way doctor's appointments are right now. I have a doctor's appointment set for like December, and I'm gonna completely forget about that. But when a storm season comes around, all of a sudden my doctor's appointment comes up, and I'm gonna go, oh, I need to get to my doctor's appointment. It's not what you do as an adjuster. You can't do that. You can't leave that policyholder now hanging and waiting because now you have a doctor's appointment set that you kind of forgot about. So it's getting your affairs in orders. It's taking advantage of the opportunities now, understanding the claims manual, looking at the new forms, and getting familiar with the technology that's out there that we are building, that's already available for us as adjusters to help us be more efficient. Understanding, becoming Xactimate X1 proficiency certified. So it's not about just having that certificate. It's about understanding the program, because when you understand the program and understand the claim experience and exact mobile and exact contents and exact analysis and how all these things work together and how they work together in conjunction with Claim Source and our iPad and everything like that, it helps the adjuster be more efficient in the field. That's what's important, is what can we do to help that policyholder, I think, as Adam pointed out, get back on their feet? Or as Glenn pointed out too, what are we doing? Because that's what you've probably heard this from me 1,000 times, or maybe you want this to be the first time you hear it from me. We are in the business of customer service. That's what we are. It's like I would like to look at the way we handle claims as Chick-fil-A. When I go to a fast food restaurant, the first place I think of is Chick-fil-A, not because of the chicken sandwich, because Popeyes has a better chicken sandwich, but the customer service. I know I'm going to get in and I'm going to get my order right, and I'm going to be on my way. And that's where it's, that's what important. That's what I like to see with all this information that we give each other and we share with each other, and we continue to learn and continue to develop. That helps us become the Chick-fil-A. That helps us become that, not the size of Chick-fil-A, but because you eat so much chicken, but just be an efficient machine, basically. Anyway, all right. So again, guys, ladies, gentlemen, everybody on this call, thank you for being on. We do have, I think I sent out an email about this. I apologize. This was actually, I said we had 2 more episodes of Flood News at Noon. This actually was number 3. We have 2 more coming up. July 29th, we have Hal Needham, who will be on. He'll give us some little insight, Dr. Hal, into updates on the hurricane season, what's happening, what he sees, any changes in the tropics, any changes maybe in And the numbers, I understand that Colorado State University just came out and said that instead of they underestimated this season, it's actually going to be a worse season. And so, when you hear stuff like that, you say, okay, I need to prepare myself. I need to be ready. I need to go. And then on August 12th, we have Dr. Sharon, and I'm not going to say her. It's like something / croissant. I'm not even going to say her name, but she is going to talk to us about mitigation and flooding and health issues and how to have a conversation with the policyholder, basically, when it comes down to just flood in general. What is in flood? I think she's been studying this topic for many, many, many years. So it should be really interesting to see her perspective on this as well. So continue to join us. We appreciate y'all being on every other Thursday. And I don't know if Julie pointed this out, but we do have our giveaway that we have some giveaways at the end. So as you join these sessions, we're taking attendance. We have your name. You're going to be put into a drawing. And with that, I'll show you one final little thing about our giveaway, and then we will call it a day.
Hey, Craig.
CNC giving away swag. We're going to be giving away a hoodie. We're giving away hats. We're giving away the shirt on Todd's back. We're giving away
A backpack.
A backpack.
It's got a front pocket and a big pocket to hold all your stuff. You can pack your gear in there and bring it on a plane.
You come to the door, look, CNC shirt, CNC bag, CNC hat, CNC Yeti cup. And if it's really cold, put your CNC hoodie on, carrying your CNC book bag, carrying your CNC other tumbler. Join us for our last sessions of Flood News at Noon for the 2021 season. The only way you have to register is attend and sign up, and she'll draw names, and we'll be giving all this good stuff away at the end of the year.
I think Julie just fell out of her chair.
Oh, and Mr. Fowler, I meant to mention, I think your NFIP card is expired. You have the gold one. I think they're on a different color now. Just thought I'd mention that too.
That's my fake one. Not a fake NFIP. Actually, it's somewhere in the office. That was just on I don't have my badge on me now, so. I believe somebody said something real quick.
Yeah, I was just wondering did you answer that Michael Felder's question on there about the adjusters do 2 inspections, go out and do a prelim, get the advance going, and then go back a couple weeks later and do the measuring? Did y'all answer that?
I did not see that one.
Well, my personal opinion on that'd be a waste of time. I mean, you're out there, do the inspection.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. And if it's the same process that I've heard some other companies do in the past, it's a very negative experience. Because when that's one thing we're implementing is claim experience, to have that initial conversation with the policyholder. That's similar to possibly what they're doing, but you're doing it the day of the assignment versus going out and seeing it and then delaying the claim and then going back out later on. Now, if it's a very big loss, that's probably an opportunity to go out there and have that conversation with them, get them advance, talk to them, give them direction, tell them what to do, provide that guidance they need, and then come out, a couple of days later and actually do the full inspection with them when you can. But if it's a process where you're going out and doing an inspection and say, I'll come back in a week and do it again, I'd rather you do it then. I'd rather the adjuster take care of that policyholder. And if I'm the policyholder, I would want it taken care of then. But, using claim experience at the beginning of this whole process, a lot of that information will be resolved then. The conversation, the advances, the prelims, things that we can do prior to actually getting out there in the field and taking care of that. We got one more here.
Hey, Craig, let me make a comment on that if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that process of visiting more than once is extremely valuable in commercial claims.
Yep.
Getting out there at the beginning to get salvage under control, to get all the parties on the same page, make sure that the mitigation company is not running wild, and explaining to this is a business person you're talking to, let them know the next steps in their process. And they're going to see you more than once. Most likely you're going to have to visit a large property a couple times anyway. So for GP, yes, dwelling, I think you're right. You don't want to put off the policyholder and make them feel like you're not important. Or they're not important to you. So, but for GP, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, it's absolutely, because there's a lot more to handle that, like you know.
Yeah, condos as well.
Yes. Yep. All right. Again, y'all have a great day. I appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See you in 2 weeks or sooner.